Have you ever looked around and feel like life forgot your number? Like everybody else got called up before you? They're getting the job, the relationship, the opportunities, and you're just standing there thinking, when is it my turn? I know that feeling. And I also know what happens when God starts flipping the order. Because here's the truth nobody talks about: favor doesn't follow order, favor follows purpose. It doesn't care how long you've been waiting, who came first, or what the system says. When favor ready to move, it moves. And when it moves, the order gets broken. That's why people will look at you or look at your life and say, how did they get there so fast? How did they skip the line? They didn't skip the line shifted for them because their purpose demanded it. So let's talk about this. Order is how the world keeps score. Favor is how God keeps purpose alive. So order says, do this, wait here, earn your turn. Favor says, you've done enough waiting, it's time. And when that happens, it won't make sense, not to people, not even to you. You'll question if you deserve it. You'll think about everyone who came before you, all the people who should have been picked. But here's the thing: favor doesn't choose based on who came first, it chooses based on who fits now. Sometimes the one who came before was just there to prepare the ground you're meant to grow in. They carried the introduction, you carried the fulfillment. That's not competition, that's continuation. But when you're the one being elevated, it's uncomfortable because favor doesn't just open doors, it disrupts systems. People will call it luck, they'll call it coincidence, but deep down you'll know something divine is moving. You see, favor has an assignment. It doesn't care about protocol, tradition, or the right time. It's about purpose timing. When what you carry is needed, no system can stop it. That's why you've got to commit to walking into destiny, even when it looks out of order. Because destiny won't wait forever. You can't keep saying, when everything lines up, I'll go. Sometimes the alignment happens after you move. When favor breaks order, it's not chaos, it's reorganization. Heaven's just remaining and rearranging what earth got wrong, right? Let me go a little deeper. We're going to speak about some sports figures to give this life in a minute, but you have to understand, being first in line looks like an advantage. The first applicant, the first believer, the first voice, the first choice. But sometimes the line itself was created because of what's assigned to you, right? Purpose creates a demand. So the system didn't even know it needed your kind of brilliance until you showed up. You didn't join the line, your presence defined it. The role, the opportunity, the moment, it started preparing itself before you ever arrived. Others were just placeholders. They stood in the gap until the real purpose could step forward. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. Their presence prepared the space, but your essence fulfills it. Think of it like this: a chair doesn't make sense until the person it's meant for sits down. The line was waiting for the person whose purpose gives meaning to the position. I'm going to speak about a few sports legends. As I said, it'll be, maybe I'll pull in LeBron, but it's definitely Kobe and Jordan and some others I'll name. But systems are human made. They're designed to maintain control, hierarchy, and tradition. But purpose is divine made, designed to fulfill destiny. When those two collide, purpose wins every time. Systems promote by policy, purpose promotes by necessity. When it's time for you to rise, even gatekeepers become instruments of your unfolding. The system may say you need credentials, connections, and approval, but your purpose says you carry what can't be taught, copied, or denied. Purpose rewrite rules without asking for permission. It's been structured to make space for you. That's why people can plot, delay, or discredit you, but they cannot replace you. You are written into the assignment, right? David wasn't in line to be king. This is biblical, but he wasn't even invited. He wasn't even invited to the selection. But the oil would not flow for anyone else. The system of tradition tried to overlook him, but purpose forced recognition. Rosa Parks in the civil rights. She wasn't the first to refuse, but she was the one that was chosen for this purpose. So she was the one whose moment broke the system open. Her purpose made the world take notice. Malala Yousafzai wasn't from a place of influence, yet her purpose made governments listen, systems bow to her conviction. And what about you? Every time you're passed over, it's not rejection, it's realignment. You're not being kept from your spot, you're being preserved for the one built for you. And what about the deep truth? Purpose is not a competition, it's a calling. So when you have individuals trying to compete with you and you're in your purpose, there is no competition. That's why there's a frustration. There's a need to show you out to prove that you're not all you pretend to be, because it's a calling. And you don't chase favor, it finds you when the world needs what only you carry. Even if you come last, purpose makes everything wait until you arrive. When your name is called by purpose, the line shifts, the system bends, and the impossible becomes rearranged to make room for you. Why does favor break order? And why you must walk into destiny? Because if you can understand that, you'll stop doubting yourself when your life doesn't look in sequence. Favor doesn't follow order. See, order is how the world keeps control. It says, do this first, then that, wait your turn, earn your seat. It teaches you that your position decides your permission. But favor doesn't care about that. Favor breaks order because order was built on systems and favor was designed by God. Order is man's structure, favor is divine interruption. Order looks logical, favor looks unfair. And that's exactly how you know it's favor. Because when favor steps in, people start whispering things like, how did they get that promotion? She just started. How is she already leading? He doesn't have the qualification. Exactly, that's favor. Favor proves that what's meant for you doesn't need human approval. And favor has to break order because purpose doesn't fit inside protocol. Every generation needs someone who's willing to break the pattern, someone who refuses to let timing, tradition, or titles tell them what they're allowed to become. If favor followed order, David would have never become king. If favor followed order, Joseph would have stayed a slave. If favor followed order, Harriet Tubman would have waited for permission to lead. But favor broke order because destiny needed something different. The old order serves its season, but when that season ends, favor rises to announce a new one. That's why God will often skip people. He'll bypass those who are qualified because he's looking for the ones who are available, the ones who are bold enough to say yes before they feel ready, the ones who don't need to be validated to be valuable. And that's why you must commit to walking into destiny. Because if favor is going to break the rules for you, you have to stop playing small for it. You can't pray for purpose and still cling to comfort. You can't ask for destiny and then expect it to come in perfect order. When favor finds you, it will pull you out of line. You'll skip steps. You'll leap over limits. And that's not pride. That's purpose positioning you for what's already written. You've got to walk into it. That's key. Because favor can open the door, but it won't drag you through. You got to decide to leave behind the version of yourself that still needs permission. You've got to believe that even if no one else understands your timing, you're still on time. Walking into destiny will look messy. It will look out of order. You'll feel like you're not ready. But destiny doesn't ask if you're ready, it asks if you're willing. When favor breaks order, your life becomes a testimony that systems can't control. And that's why you can't afford to shrink back. Because somebody out there needs to see that it's possible to be chosen without being first. Favor breaks order to make space for destiny. So when your life is feeling or starts to feel unpredictable, that's not chaos. That's rearrangement. That's God clearing the line, moving the pieces, and setting the stage for your assignment. And when it's time for you to step forward, don't hesitate. Don't question if you belong. Walk into it like it was always yours, because it was. Favor does not follow order. Favor follows purpose. Order is man's system of control, and favor is God's system of release. Order will say, wait your turn. Favor says, it's your time. Order says, you're not next in line. Favor says, you are the line. See, favor breaks order because purpose doesn't fit into protocol. Every generation, every era needs someone who refuses to stay in the box of how it's supposed to be. If favor followed order, David wouldn't have been king. Joseph wouldn't have ruled Egypt. Esther wouldn't have walked into the palace. Harriet Tubman wouldn't have led her people to freedom. Each of them broke the sequence. They didn't come from where you're supposed to come from. They didn't have the right credentials, but they had the right calling. Favor looks unfair, and that's the point, because it's not about who deserves it most. It's about who's destined for it. When purpose calls your name, it reshapes the world around you. It'll pull you out of line, push you into places you didn't even apply for, and makes people wonder, why them? Because purpose creates its own opportunity. You weren't skipped. You weren't being prepared. The people who went before you were clearing the way, basically. They were rehearsing for the moment that you would define. And that's why you can't envy someone else's timing. Their order isn't your destiny. Favor moves in divine timing, not human timing. So while others count years, heaven counts alignment. That's why some people get promoted after being overlooked for years. That's why some finally meet their moment after rejection, after loss, after pain. Because favor doesn't follow comfort, it follows calling. And once you reach your destiny, you are now walking in your purpose. Your light is going to disrupt darkness. And you need to understand that. You need to prepare yourself for that. And once you have, you won't be affected. You ever see individuals who know people don't like them and they move anyway, right? Because there's a spiritual understanding that they have. Darkness is often seen as ignorance, it's deception, fear, or evil. And it tries to hide in darkness. Darkness is comfortable because it hides flaws, right? And when light represents truth, wisdom, clarity, and God's presence, it is very disruptive, and it almost happens, it begins to present a tower moment. Because darkness cannot comprehend light, because the very essence of light exposes what darkness tries to hide. The moment light appears, Darkness loses its power, it vanishes. That's how favor is designed. Your light makes room for you. Very powerful. Spiritually, those who live in spiritual blindness or corruption cannot fully understand the purity and clarity of divine truth because it threatens their entire foundation. Darkness symbolizes a closed mind, denial, or unconsciousness. Light symbolizes awareness, healing, and higher consciousness. People trapped in darkness, they possess jealousy, hate, envy, and they're full of manipulation because they often cannot grasp why someone chooses love, forgiveness, or truth. To them, light makes no sense because their worldview of the system thrives on survival, right? And a healed mind is confusing to a wounded one. Once someone accepts their destiny, their purpose, whatever they need to heal will begin to heal so they can operate in divine alignment. And there's a symbolic understanding when light begins to reveal what darkness conceals. You can bring light into a dark room, but you cannot bring darkness into a lit room. Darkness has no substance. Now, this shows why light is always more powerful. Darkness cannot fight light, it can only exist where light is absent. So, when you show up in your purpose, you're that light, and you'll feel like everything is coming against you because maybe you're in the wrong position. No, they're trying to remove you from where they are. They need for you to be absent because they lack substance. When you show up, their lack of substance is exposed. It displays itself before the public to those that matter. When someone who lives in darkness, they lack substance, and they encounter someone that they can't understand, and because that they carry the light, they'll think, what's the trick, what's the agenda, because they cannot comprehend it, because it is alien to their reality. So they don't understand, they don't value it. Because see, the moment when light enters, darkness has no choice but to disappear. Darkness has no voice, no strength, no power, because it is only the absence of light. But when light shines, the truth is revealed, chains are broken, and shadows are exposed. It shows what was needed for such a time as this. Darkness is full of confusion, light brings clarity. Darkness hides, when light shows up, it reveals. And when you walk in truth, those still living in lies will not comprehend you. When you walk in love, those who live in hate cannot explain you. When you rise in purpose, those trapped in envy will try to destroy you because your light reminds them of everything they chose not to be. Darkness doesn't understand light because light is wholeness, and darkness is brokenness pretending to be whole. That's why manipulators cannot grasp honesty. That's why the jealous cannot understand joy. That's why the hateful cannot understand forgiveness. And that's why evil cannot understand God. Light does not need darkness to exist, but darkness only survives where light is absent. So when you begin to shine and walk in your purpose and are aligned with your destiny, do not dim yourself for those living in the shadow. Do not shrink back because they cannot comprehend your glow, your shine. Your light is not meant to be understood by darkness. Your light is meant to overcome it. Because by nature, light exposes what is hidden. Darkness thrives only in concealment. I want to, you have to understand that everyone, do not expect for everyone to understand your growth, your joy, or your faith. To those in darkness, your light will seem strange, intimidating, or even offensive. But your responsibility is not to make the dark understand you. Your responsibility is to keep shining. The reason darkness cannot understand light is because the two are not equal. Darkness is only the absence of light. The moment light shows up, darkness disappears. And I've said that. So you think about it. You don't need to fight the dark to get rid of it. All you have to do is show up. And this is not just about day and night, it's about life, people, and even the spiritual battles we face. Let me, I want to go a little deeper and speak about some things I have here. I want to relate it to something, I try to relate what I speak about to a concept. And in this video, I want to speak about the goat. Not the scapegoat, but the goat, greatness, right? And people fight over who has more greatness than someone else, right? And they begin to compare. But I have a higher meaning than that. I have a deeper meaning. I want to go deeper into it in regards to the goat. Let me, bear with me. In my opinion, I am not uh, into sports analytics, but there are some people that I just see a certain way, and I would like to speak on, and I'm trying, or I will tie all of this in, and all about greatness and what the GOAT carries. I'm trying to get my words together. Now, the world or an industry may need a GOAT, or they'll define an individual as a GOAT, the greatest of all time, right? Someone who stands firm in truth and innovation and purpose when everyone else is copying them. So this isn't just in sports, this is in business and in other industries and fields of knowledge as well. The world needs a GOAT, not just the greatest of all time kind, though. Well, yeah, we need those too, but the kind that climbs, the one that keeps going when the mountain looks impossible, the kind that doesn't need a crowd to believe in it. See, goats don't wait for perfect paths, they make their own. So while everybody else is scared to slip, the goat just moves, sure footed, determined, and focused. But here's the thing, the world also needs the other kind of goat, which is the scapegoat, the one that who gets blamed, misunderstood, or cast out. But just so everyone else feels clean, because without that one, nobody ever looks at themselves. The scapegoat becomes the mirror nobody wanted to face. But sometimes the greatest of all time starts as the scapegoat. The outcast becomes the leader. The one they threw away ends up being the blueprint. So yeah, the world needs a GOAT, someone who can take the weight, climb the mountain, and still looks down and say, I told y'all I was built for this, right? You ever notice how the world of sports is obsessed with winners, but doesn't really understand what it takes to become one? Everybody loves the GOAT after they've made it. But before that, they laughed, they doubted, they overlooked. That's the part people forget. The world doesn't just get a GOAT. The world creates one through pressure, rejection, and resistance. See, goats climb mountains so no one else dares to touch. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They move when others freeze. They don't need applause to prove they're chosen. They just keep going until the view changes. And that's what the world needs right now. No more talkers, not more trends chasers, but climbers. People who keep their footing on rough ground. People who can handle being alone and still rise. Because the higher you go, the thinner the air. And only a goat can breathe up there. I didn't mean for that to be poetic, but let's talk about the other side of it, the scapegoat, the one they blame when things fall apart, the one who becomes the easy target so everyone else feels better about staying small. That person, they carry what no one else wants to face, and it hurts. Because when you're the scapegoat, you're misunderstood, you're misjudged, and sometimes even betrayed by the very people you were trying to save. But here's the secret. The scapegoat becomes sacred. Every ounce of pain, every rejection, every false accusation becomes training. You start to see through people, through systems, through illusions. And eventually you realize you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to expose what needed to change. And that's when the story flips. The scapegoat becomes the goat. Because the greatest of all time didn't just win, they endured. They faced what others ran from. That's a true goat. They stood in truth when it was costly. And they kept climbing when the mountain said you don't belong here. So, yeah, the world needs a goat. Someone who doesn't just talk about change but becomes it. Someone who's not afraid to be misunderstood because destiny doesn't require validation, it requires vision. If you've ever been counted out, if they ever made you the scapegoat, congratulations. You're in rare company. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. Because one day they'll look up at the mountain and realize the person they doubted became the reason they still have hope. The world doesn't just need a goat, it needs you. Michael Jordan, the blueprint, the game of basketball. He changed the game mentality and commercially. Every player after him measured greatness by his standard. Killer instinct, unmatched competitiveness, 6 rings. He defined GOAT energy. LeBron James, we could say he's the evolution. Longevity, consistency, leadership. He's rewritten what it means to dominate across eras. From teenage prodigy to 40-year-old powerhouse, LeBron turned expectation into execution. What about football? Tom Brady, the strategist. 7 Super Bowls, multiple comebacks, unmatched discipline. He proved greatness is built, not born. He wasn't the fastest or strongest, but he outthought everyone. Jerry Rice, the perfectionist, records that records that may never be broken. He wasn't the flashiest, but his work ethic made him unstoppable. Every route, every catch, excellence was his habit. What about in soccer, football worldwide? Lionel Messi, the magician. He has vision, control, humility. Messi plays like poetry. It's not just skill, it's artistry. He makes impossible plays look effortless. How about Cristiano Ronaldo, the machine? Relentless discipline, unmatched physique, and a global brand. He embodies mastery through willpower. Messi is God given talent. Ronaldo is God tier work ethic. What about boxing? Muhammad Ali, the voice and the fighter. Charisma, courage, conviction. He wasn't just fighting men, he was fighting systems. He made boxing a movement. What about Floyd Mayweather Jr., the tactician? Undefeated record, defensive genius. Love him or hate him, he turned boxing into a billion-dollar business. Precision over power. Let's speak tennis. Serena Williams, the dominator. Strength, grace, legacy. She shattered gender and racial ceilings and stayed on top for decades. Power and purpose in motion. What about Roger Federer, the artist? Effortless technique, class, and consistency. He made tennis look elegant while rewriting records. What about in Formula One? Michael Schumacher, the trailblazer. 7 world titles, total control under pressure. He set the bar for modern F1 dominance. What about Lewis Hamilton, the breaker of barriers? Equaled Schumacher's records and pushed the sport into diversity and activism. Grace under fire, literally and figuratively. Let's speak women's basketball. Lisa Leslie, the pioneer. First woman to dunk in a WNBA game. A leader who gave the league identity and credibility. What about Diana Taurasi, the assassin? Pure skill, intensity, and clutch DNA. When it matters most, she delivers. Let's speak about college football. Deion Sanders, primetime personified. Dual sport legend who redefined swagger and athletic confidence. He made football entertainment. What about Tim Tebow, the symbol? Not the longest career, but impact wise. His faith, leadership, and clutch play. He became a cultural phenomenon beyond stats. Let's speak baseball. Babe Ruth, the legend. He made baseball America's game. His presence filled stadiums before TV ever did. Jackie Robinson, the revolutionary. He broke color barriers, changed history, and carried the weight of an entire race with grace and excellence. What about the street and culture goats? Kobe Bryant, the philosopher. Mamba mentality. Work like your life depends on it because your purpose does. His legacy became a mindset beyond sports. Let's speak Allen Iverson, the cultural changer. He didn't just play, he shifted the look and sound of basketball. The cornrows, tattoos, authenticity. He brought the streets to the court unapologetically. You can absolutely argue that Kobe Bryant should be over LeBron James, and a lot of people do. Why? Because Kobe represented something that can't be measured, the mentality. LeBron might be better all around athlete. He's bigger, stronger, more versatile, more efficient. But Kobe was spirit. He was edge. He was the standard of obsession. See, LeBron is a king, strategic, calculating, playing chess his whole career. Kobe was a warrior, a samurai with a basketball. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to dominate. He studied Jordan frame by frame until he became his spiritual successor. LeBron inspires people to believe in balance through greatness, family, longevity, and business. And then there's Kobe, ignited people to burn for purpose, to outwork everyone and die empty. LeBron's greatness is about control. Kobe's greatness is about fire, and fire can't be duplicated. If we're talking legacy through emotion, through what people feel when they hear a name, Kobe edges ahead in that intangible category. And when he died, the world didn't just mourn an athlete, it mourned an era, a mindset, a mirror of our ambition. So while LeBron might hold more statistical power, Kobe holds spiritual weight. He made you want to get up, grind harder, and expect more from yourself. That's why some people don't call Kobe a GOAT. They call him the blueprint of greatness itself. But I say he has a little bit more to him. You ever notice how every generation needs a name to argue over? For ours, it's simple, Kobe or LeBron. Now on paper, LeBron James checks every box. All-time scorer, 4 rings, longevity, that's unreal. He's still out there 2 decades deep, moving like a rookie with the wisdom of a veteran. But the GOAT conversation, it's deeper than numbers. It's about presence. It's about what your name does to people. LeBron is the king, calculated, consistent, and built to last. He mastered the system. He plays chess, not checkers. He never lets the world, well, at one time, he never let the world see him sweat. His greatness is a marathon. It's measured, it's refined, it's generational. He represents control. But Kobe Bryant, Kobe was the storm, the kind of greatness you feel before you even see it. He didn't master the system, he defied it. He made people believe that obsession was a form of love, the love of the game, the love of basketball. Kobe didn't just play basketball, he devoured it. He studied Jordan like scripture. He dissected opponents like puzzles and showed the world that perfection is the price of purpose. LeBron is a blueprint for balance. Kobe is the embodiment of sacrifice. You could see it in his eyes. The man lived in a gym, he breathed the grind and turned pressure into poetry. When LeBron wins, the world celebrates. When Kobe won, the world felt it. You didn't have to be a Lakers fan. You could feel that Mamba fire inside you saying, get up, push harder, be better. That's the difference, in my opinion. LeBron inspires you to dream big. Kobe dares you to suffer for it. And when he passed, the world didn't just lose an athlete, it lost a standard. Because the Mamba mentality wasn't about basketball, it was about becoming. So, yeah, the debate can go on forever. LeBron might be the greatest of all time, but Kobe was the greatest reminder that time itself is short. So, whatever you do, give it everything. When it is said that, or how I researched, and based on all that I researched, you can say um, LeBron has a blueprint. But I say Kobe Bryant is the code. And this is why. Let me give you my argument for this. And I'm a novice. But Kobe Bryant didn't just become great, he decoded greatness. He figured out the formula, he lived it out loud, and then left it behind for the rest of the basketball world to follow. See, most athletes chase fame, money, or validation. Kobe chased mastery. He wanted to understand greatness on a cellular level in mindset and discipline and purpose. He studied everything: Michael Jordan's movements, Bruce Lee's philosophy, the psychology of competition. He didn't just practice shots, he practiced focus, control, and repetition until it became instinct. That's why, in my view, he became the code because his life turned into a living algorithm for success. If you followed his steps, the early mornings, the obsession, the precision, you could unlock a higher version of yourself. He didn't just teach the game, he taught the grind. Kobe understood that talent fades, but habits don't. He said, I don't want to be better than others. I want to be better than I was yesterday. That's the code. Continuous evolution. He turned discipline into a lifestyle, not a phase. The man turned injuries into motivation, failures into fuel, criticism into fire. Every time the world counted him out, he coded that pain into progress. He made struggle look like a sacred ritual. He taught us that suffering isn't the enemy, wasted potential is. He made obsession holy because Kobe didn't just work hard, he worshiped the process. While others looked for balance, he looked for purpose. He believed the path to mastery requires sacrifice. That's why people either loved him or you feared him because his focus made the average uncomfortable. The Mamba mentality wasn't just a catchphrase, it was a global mindset shift. He gave the world a mental blueprint, a way to think, to train, to lead like a champion. It's been adopted by CEOs, artists, students, soldiers, and athletes worldwide. And it also can be adopted by those listening to a content creator. He became more than human, he became method. He transcended his arena. Kobe didn't stop at basketball. He moved into storytelling, filmmaking, mentorship, spreading the same code across different worlds. Even in death, his principles keep teaching. His interviews, his quotes, his documentaries, they still light fires in people years later. That's immortality. So, how did I come to the point where I believe Kobe was the code? Because he embodied what everyone else just talked about. He turned philosophy into lifestyle, pain into purpose, effort into legacy. Kobe didn't just live by a code, he became it so that anyone chasing greatness would always have a map. Let's talk about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't just dominate basketball, he reconstructed how the world defines greatness. He became the code before the code, the DNA that every competitor since has been trying to replicate. See, before Jordan, basketball had legends. After Jordan, it had a prototype. He showed what it looked like to be unstoppable, not just talented, but mentally engineered to win. He became the GOAT's blueprint. because he wasn't just playing the game, he transformed it on every level: mental, physical, cultural, and spiritual. Jordan's superpower wasn't just skill, it was psychology. He weaponized competitiveness. Every doubt, every slight, every opponent became fuel. He didn't wait to be motivated. He created his own reasons to dominate. That's the blueprint. Don't wait for validation. Find your fire and feed it daily. When people talk about the Mamba mentality, they're really talking about the Jordan mindset, the refusal to let weakness live in your space. Jordan trained like the world owed him nothing. He treated every practice like the finals, and that's what I got from my research. He would show up before everyone, leave after everyone, and expect his teammates to match his obsession. But maybe that bar was too high for others to match. So that's why people feared him, not because he yelled, but because his standard exposed everyone else's excuses. He proved that greatness, he proved that greatness is repetition under pressure. Every fadeaway, every mid-range jumper was crafted through muscle memory that bordered on spiritual discipline. Jordan had what few ever mastered: the mix of love for the game and ruthlessness for winning. He didn't play for fun, he played for legacy. His focus was surgical. He could smell fear and he attacked it. The killer instinct became the essence of modern competitiveness. What Kobe studied, what LeBron learned to balance, and what every young player now tries to imitate. Jordan just he didn't just dominate sports. He merged athletics, marketing, and identity. Before him, players endorsed products. After him, they became brands. Nike plus Jordan equals the modern athlete economy. He taught the world that image, story, and excellence could coexist. He made basketball global and the athlete iconic. You weren't just buying sneakers, you were buying the idea of greatness. That blueprint still fuels culture today. From Kobe's Mamba to LeBron's King to every artist or entrepreneur building a legacy. What made Jordan immortal? To me, wasn't that he was flawless, it's that he never stopped chasing flawless. He lost, failed, retired, came back, and still pushed the limit. He didn't just show dominance, he showed resurrection. He taught that greatness isn't a moment, it's a mindset that outlasts time. That's why decades later, you can talk about success, work ethic, or excellence without mentioning his name. You can't talk about them things without mentioning Michael Jordan, because he's the metric, he's the model, he's the original code written in fire. So I believe that he became a blueprint because he turned competition into a lifestyle, his discipline into a brand, and his confidence into culture. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to redefine what winning meant. Jordan made every generation after him ask, how close can I get to that? And that's the mark of a true blueprint, when your standard becomes everyone else's ceiling. You know what's wild? They still call Michael Jordan a GOAT, but the word doesn't even fit him anymore. In my opinion, a GOAT is something you compare. Jordan became something you can't. After the sixth ring, he crossed over. He didn't just win, he completed the game. He became the standard by which every legend, every great, every next up would forever be measured and still come up short. Jordan stopped competing with players, he started competing with perfection. See, everyone wants to be like Mike, but no one really wants to do what Mike did. The early mornings, the mental warfare, the obsession that bordered on insanity. He didn't just play to win, he played to never be questioned. That sixth ring wasn't just a championship, it was a crowning of mastery. He had nothing left to prove, and yet somehow he still wanted more. That's not ego, that's evolution. And from that point, Jordan wasn't chasing greatness. He became the measuring stick for it. LeBron chases it, Kobe studied it. Every athlete in every sports has a little bit of Jordan coded into their DNA. He turned greatness into geometry, angles, precision, timing. Every move was art. He made winning look inevitable, like destiny itself bowed to his will. When he held that sixth trophy, the conversation ended and the legacy began. Because what do you compare God mode to? He wasn't the best of his time. He was the reason time had to adjust. So, yeah, we can talk GOATs all day. LeBron, Kobe, whoever's next. But Michael Jordan, he's not in that conversation. I don't know why people keep even comparing him. He is the conversation. After that sixth ring, he didn't just leave his mark, he left a model, an algorithm for dominance no one has cracked since. He's not just a legend. He's the limit of human focus. And until someone wins like that, bleeds like that, and sacrifices like that, the crown stays where it's been. MJ didn't just define greatness, he defined the finish line. And everyone else is still running toward it. You know what separates Kobe from the rest? He never tried to surpass Jordan. He tried to understand him. Kobe studied Michael, frame by frame, breath by breath, movement by movement. He didn't imitate him out of ego. He honored him because Kobe knew when no one else wanted to say out loud, Michael Jordan isn't a GOAT, he's beyond that. See, because the GOAT, it means the greatness of all time. But time is what Jordan transcended. He didn't just dominate an era, he defined how eras are going to be measured. He didn't just raise the bar, he became it. That's why Kobe never disrespected the throne. He understood that MJ wasn't just a man, he was a measurement. You can compare LeBron to Kobe, Kobe to Magic, Magic to Bird, but you can't compare anyone to Jordan because Jordan isn't part of the ranking. He's the reference point. He's the reason the word GOAT even exists in basketball. But truthfully, that title is too small now. The crown can't contain what he became. Jordan wasn't the GOAT, he was the standard, the archetype, the original frequency of greatness itself. And when you reach that level, you're no longer competing, you're creating gravity. Others orbit around your example. They study your moves like physics. They chase shadows that never fade. That's what Kobe understood. That humility is the highest form of wisdom. He didn't spend his life saying, I'm better. He spent it saying, I'm becoming. And that's why the Mamba and MJ are eternally connected. Not as rivals, but as reflections. Jordan was the standard. Kobe became the code. Jordan, the father of fire, and Kobe, the son who carried it forward. I feel that Jordan needs to be given another name. Maybe the Alpha Standard, the Architect of Greatness, something like that. Michael Jordan showed and taught the world how to win. Giving Michael Jordan the name of GOAT, you may think you're giving him the highest honor, but it's an insult, right? Not really, no one's trying to insult him. They may not have a name for him. Because to me, Michael Jordan was the constellation of greatness. There are athletes who play the game, and then there are those who shift the universe around it. Michael Jordan didn't just play basketball, he rearranged gravity. When he took flight, time slowed. The crowd held its breath. Every jump became a lesson in what human potential could look like when it refused to obey limits. He wasn't chasing points, he was chasing perfection. And somewhere between discipline and destiny, he discovered a level of mastery that made ordinary seem impossible again. 6 rings later, the argument ended. Jordan didn't retire as the GOAT. He ascended as a constellation of greatness, a fixed point in the sky that every generation now uses to navigate its own ambition. Kobe saw it first. He didn't imitate, he studied the stars. He understood that you don't compete with the constellation, you learn from its light. That's why the Mamba became the keeper of that flame, the code written from the original pattern in the sky. And long after both left the court, the light still travels, guiding dreamers, athletes, and believers who look up and whisper, that's what impossible looked like. Every era begins with a spark. For Michael Jordan, that spark was rejection, the high school cut that could have ended the story before it began. But instead of folding, he turned pain into propulsion. Each missed shot became a reason to practice one more hour. Each doubt became rocket fuel. From the start, his ambition had no ceiling. He didn't want to play the game, he wanted to understand it. He studied rhythm, gravity, and angles the way an astronomer studied stars. And soon, the universe of basketball started to bend around him. Then came liftoff, the Air Jordan era. It wasn't just highlight reels, it was weightlessness. When Jordan jumped, it felt like the laws of physics took a break. The world stopped. People looked up, not because he was high off the ground, but because he made them believe humans could hang there. He brought poetry to pressure, art to competition, fearlessness to flight and fight. Every dunk was a declaration. Limits only exist until someone decides they don't. And then there came a part or a point where he began to shift cosmically. You know, by the sixth championship, something changed. He had done what no one else had, dominated an era so completely that debate itself lost meaning. Jordan didn't just win, he shifted culture. Basketball stopped being a sport and became a language, spoken through sneakers, commercials, and dreams of kids in every corner of the planet. That's when he stopped being the GOAT. In my opinion, the word was and is too small. To me, he became the constellation of greatness, a fixed light that generations will now navigate by. You don't compare players like Jordan. You measure how close they get to his orbit. Every athlete since has chased that gravity. Some got near, but none broke free of it. Because Jordan's brilliance wasn't just skill, it was balance between fury and focus, confidence and craft. He made dominance look inevitable. He turned winning into an art form. He left the world, he left behind a world that can never look at the game of basketball the same way again because he ascended. Nike didn't just sell shoes, they sold belief. Every Be Like Mike chant became a prayer for possibility. He made success spiritual. And while other athletes fade with time, Jordan's highlights still feel present. You can watch them today and the footage doesn't age because timeless things don't belong to time. He showed what mastery looks like when passion meets purpose. And the result is bigger than sports. It's transformation. And Kobe became that keeper of the flame because he understood the code. Kobe Bryant didn't try to surpass the constellations. He studied, he traced, he honored the light. He watched every move, every fadeaway, every stare. He learned not to imitate the star, but to carry its fire forward. Kobe's greatness was never about comparison. It was about continuation. He humbled himself enough to know that Jordan could not be measured and wise enough to build upon what could not be replicated. The Mamba mentality became the earthbound version of the cosmic pattern, the code of discipline, obsession, and self-reinvention. Together, they formed the bridge between divine standard and human pursuit. Jordan was the constellation and Kobe was the echo that kept it shining. And I'm going to leave it here because I can go on forever. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.